Hello and welcome to the Untethered Consciousness channel. I'm your host, Rod Bland. Thank you for joining me, and I think we've actually already got someone jump. Joyful Heart, thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to turn up that brightness just a little bit. Appreciate you joining us wherever you are from. I'm in Sydney, down under in Australia. It's 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel as it usually is. Maybe some of you might not be old enough to remember Batman and that particular slogan, same bat time, same bat channel. I certainly was. It's, I think, around about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night in the USA on Tuesday. So in my past. And Joyful Hearts joining us from Maryland. Welcome. Yeah, it is the evening there. And if you are crazy enough to be up very early in the morning in the UK, I think it's around about 5 a.m. So thanks if you are joining us from there. Now, if you do drop in, don't be a stranger. Let us know where you're from. Say hi. I'll do a shout out for you. And we can all get to know each other a little better. So anyone who's watching this on replay, thank you also for joining in, and just everyone who's been supporting the channel since I started back in, when did I start? March. I think it was about mid-March. So we've been running for about 4 months now. I've had some really interesting guests. I appreciate everyone's support. Things are ticking along pretty well with the channel. I've got some really interesting guests coming up soon as well. Now, if the main purpose of this live stream, apart from to support some of my other previous guests who come in, particularly Jason Janas, is for people to be able to come on and talk about any particular spiritual experience, or whether it's an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience or some sort of, even if it's an awakening of some sort. If you just want to talk about what's happened and you don't mind coming in on camera, or you could just come in audio if you want to as well, then you can join me live in the studio. So there's the link to the queue, which is bit.ly/UC230718. It's always 23 being the year, 07 being the month, 18 being the day that it is in the USA. That's always the format that I'll use. So yeah, if you have something that's occurred in your life that maybe you've not talked about before, maybe you have, I don't know, and you'd like to share, well, I'd be more than happy to have you in the studio to have a chat about it. So the usual format is I have a look at who I've had in the past on the channel and who's just coming up as far as being published goes, and who we've got coming up in the future. So I've just recently had, I'm just going to share this screen actually, share this tab. So we've had Darius J. Wright on the channel recently. He was a very interesting fellow, very experienced with the out-of-body state. And he's actually here in Australia, in Newcastle, though he's migrated from the United States quite a long time ago. Also had... or let's just find my other guest, if I can find her here. So I had Julie Ryan as well, which is probably easiest just to look at my channel for that. So Julie Ryan is a medical intuitive and psychic, and it's rather than something that happened to her when she was younger, it's something that she's actually learned how to do through training and experience, which is really fascinating. So I'll just bring up her video on my channel. Yeah, there she is there. So here we go. That was Julie's interview there. It's really interesting. She communicates with people's pets, both living and dead, people that have passed over, people that haven't passed over, and she's got the ability to, she has kind of an x-ray vision, kind of like a human MRI, where she can look at people's health conditions and both heal them and then provide guidance on, if there's additional healing that needs to be done as well. Really fascinating stuff. Definitely well worth watching. So as far as who I've got coming up, I'll just share my Calendly. I've got a few interesting people coming. Let's have a look. The one I'm really excited about is Tom Campbell, the author of My Big Toe. I don't know, Tom is someone who I guess is largely responsible for getting me started on this whole journey with learning about consciousness and spirituality, etc. He's written a very comprehensive trilogy called My Big Toe, and I'll actually just show you the in my Kindle. So there's 3 books. If you've not read any of Tom's books, then I would definitely read the first one, which is it's called Awakening. So it's interesting because it provides a lot of information about Tom's backstory, as well as an introduction to his theory, or his big theory of everything. So he's a physicist. He's one of the people that worked with Robert Monroe from the Monroe Institute, who I've spoken about many times in the past, in the early days. So really looking forward to having him come on the channel. He's coming up next week, and I've also got Darius Wright is going to be returning for a live stream. So he'll actually be on next week in the live stream. So I'm just going solo today, but I'll have him on the following week. And then the week after that, we're going to have Peter Panagore returning. He's the fellow who froze to death on a mountainside, had a near-death experience. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. And then after that, we've got Father Nathan Castle. He'll be my first ordained priest or minister on the channel. And following that, we've got Melissa Denyce. I think hopefully it's pronounced Denise, who's from the Love Covered Life podcast, who many of you probably watch and subscribe to. She's going to be coming on the channel. And I'll also have Eben Alexander, who wrote, I think I've actually got his book here in my Kindle. Do I? Not in that one. Maybe it's Eben. No, I have actually read his book, but I must not have ordered on this particular Kindle account. Anyway, he's a neurosurgeon that had a near-death experience. I think it was back in the 90s when, the medical profession didn't consider the near-death experience to be anything valid. His prefrontal cortex was completely wiped out, so he had no brain function at all, and he had all these memories that he brought back from his near-death experience, which really, completely transformed his outlook on what happens after we die. So we've got Jason. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining us in from Waukesha in Wisconsin. I'm probably still not pronouncing that correctly, but doesn't matter. Jason's always reliable. In fact, these are my 2 most reliable guests, Joyful Heart and Jason. I appreciate you joining me. I figure in a year's time, there'll probably be about 15 or 20 of you that'll regularly join me on the show. So what else have I got that I wanted to talk about? So I've done a channel update. We've got upcoming guest interviews. Yeah, let's just have a look at what I'm actually reading now. I'll chuck my Kindle back up again. So currently, before bedtime, I'm reading this book here, which is Afterlives, first-hand accounts of 20 notable people. I wish I could actually zoom that in a bit. I wonder if I can. I'll try. Oh yeah, a little bit. And fascinating book by a lady who channels these notable people called Joanne Helfrich. I assume that's how it's pronounced. It includes a number of really interesting people. I'll just bring up the first page just so I can remember. Let's see. I'll bring up the topic. Yeah, so Anthony Bourdain, Hunter S. Thompson, who I'd never heard of before, but a lot of people would. Ayn Rand, I'm sure many of you have read Ayn Rand's works. Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman. I'm up to, let's see, Carl Gustav Jung, George Harrison, Douglas Adams, James Baldwin. Aldous Huxley is where I'm at the moment. Yeah, so I'm almost finished then. There's also Robin Williams. Yep, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And from my point of view, completely believable. These are actually the people and communicating through her. And whether you believe it or not, I think the information is really valuable. So definitely a book that's worth reading, I think. Angelic Attendance is a new one that I haven't started yet. That's by my recent guest, Julie Ryan. And I recently heard about this one too, Arago, Surgeon of the Rusty Knife, which is about a Brazilian peasant who was able to surgically heal people. And it sounds like a really interesting book. I haven't started reading it yet, but certainly one that I'm looking forward to reading. And this is another one too. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, the raw material. One of my previous guests, Tony Sikoria, who was the orthopedic surgeon who was struck by lightning, he mentioned this, and I didn't know what he was talking about at the time, but then since then I've looked up this and I've started reading the raw material, and it's information that's channeled through a person from an entity who claims to be from our distant future that used to live on Venus, when Venus was a lot closer to the sun than a lot further away from the sun in the Goldilocks zone, like the way the Earth is at the moment. Anyway, it's very interesting. I think the value of information that's channeled, especially for me, it's measured by how much of a difference it makes to your life, like how valuable is the information, rather than getting hung up on, well, is this actually real information? It doesn't really bother me. It's more about how valuable it is and whether it's actually useful to something that you can use in your life. So that's that. What else have I got on my list here that I wanted to talk to you guys about? Just a little bit about the UFO, UAP phenomena. I think that those who are interested in that particular topic probably know that Dr. Stephen Greer has recently released a brand new documentary of sorts, which is part of his disclosure project. I've been watching this actually is on, what's it called? It's called the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. So it's a bit more of a focus on free energy technology that has been around for quite a long time in various forms since the days of Nikola Tesla. And he has a lot of different testimonies and a lot of really well researched really well, I want to say film, but yeah, it's more of a documentary, really well researched, definitely one that's worth watching. So it's called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. If you just look it up on YouTube, there is a couple of people that already actually posted the entire film on YouTube. It was completely done and through crowdfunding. So one to check out if that's your bag, is to do with UFOs. But even if it's not, even if you're just interested in the future of mankind and the planet, as far as what are we going to use for our energy in the future if we can't rely on well, let's face it, fossil fuels are going to expire at some point, and if energy, particularly energy that's available that is ultimately free, imagine what sort of a difference that would make to the planet if that was actually available, and it would just completely change everything, wouldn't it? So one to have a look at. What else have I got on my list of things here? Yeah, that's about it actually. That's all I've got as far as that. So if you've just joined in, thank you for dropping in, and don't be a stranger. Say hi in the chat. Let us know where you are from, and I'll give you a shout out. If you are watching this on replay, yeah, do the same in the comments. Let me know where you're from. I know some people can't always join in when I run these, but I've set them at a time that's mostly going to suit people who are in the US and also here in Australia. So let's have a look at what else we wanted to cover as far as what's been going on. I've covered what I'm reading now. Channeling. Oh, right, yeah. So on the topic of channeling, my birthday's coming up, and my wife asked me, what would you like for your birthday? And I said, I'd like a Ouija board. I just blurted that out, basically. I don't know what made me think I wanted a Ouija board, but I do. I'm fascinated by Ouija boards. I know there's some people give them a bad rap, but I think as far as an access to being able to kind of raise your vibration, to have messages and information come from something other than our present reality plane, I like the idea of a Ouija board, so I'm enthusiastic about getting one. My birthday's on the 29th, so I don't have to wait long. I'll let you guys know what sort of experiences I have with that. Has anyone tuning in ever used a Ouija board? If so, what has been your experience? If you are watching this on replay, well, drop a comment in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm certainly interested. I'll have to dig up a guest who is familiar with, well, I mean, I know that one of my previous guests, Nikki Allen, she's pretty familiar with Ouija boards, but I'll see if I can find someone else as well. All right, so if you are just dropping in, I'm Rod, host of the Untethered Consciousness channel. Thanks for dropping by. Let us know where you're from, and say hi in the comments. I'll give you a shout out if you do. If you do that, I promise everyone who drops a comment gets a shout out. And thank you to Joyful Heart and Jason for joining me today, and anyone else who drops in. Don't be a stranger. If you are just joining in, the main purpose for this live stream is for people to come on and have a chat about their spiritually transformative experience, for want of a better word, whether that's an out-of-body experience, a near-death experience, something else that's occurred. Maybe something occurred when one of your loved ones passed away that you can't explain. I'd be happy to have you come on the channel and let us know what happened. If you are game, you can join me in the studio. There's the link to the queue. Don't be shy. Who might be this is my fourth, I think, or fifth solo live stream that I've done, and I'm yet to have anyone other than my previous guest Jason join in to talk about their experience. So there's got to be a first. So maybe it'll be you. All right, I can see we've got a few lurkers there. Thank you very much for joining in, and let us know where you're from. I'd like to hear from you, and I'll promise I'll give you a shout out as well. So what else is going? What else have I been reading recently that you might be interested in reading as well? Let's see. Oh, you know what? This is one I forgot about. This is another book by Joanne Helfrich, and it's called Starman. So it's a channeled book by David Bowie. And so David Bowie is connected with Joanne in the afterlife, and fascinating book. One that's well worth reading. Recommend that one as well. Who have we got here? Is it Michael Marshall checking in from the US in Louisiana? Thank you, Michael, for joining the show. Louisiana. What's happening in Louisiana today? What's the weather like there? It's actually, what is it? I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go. 70.8. That's in Celsius. It's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. I imagine it's probably a little bit warmer in Louisiana than what it is here in Sydney. But the weather is starting to warm up. We're still officially in winter, but it's actually, you know what? It's officially middle of winter, so I shouldn't get too carried away. But I'm jealous of people who have warmer weather, because it gets so cold that your hands get kind of stiff here. So if you are just tuning in, say hi in the chat. I'll give you a shout out. If you are watching this on replay, drop a comment below. Let us know where you're from. I'm always interested in hearing where people are coming from. So the purpose of today's live stream is to, apart from me to just provide a general channel update, it's a forum for people to come on and talk about their experiences. So whether it's been a near-death experience, an out-of-body experience, some other spiritually transformative experience that's happened to you, well, now's your opportunity to come on and tell your story. Generally, 10 to 15 minutes is what I would allow. And yeah, if you would like to join me, there's the link to the queue. It's https bit.ly/UC230718. Just drop that into your browser. That'll load up StreamYard. You'll be able to go to the Backstage Studio, and I'll let you in from there. Have your camera on, have your camera off. It's entirely up to you, but don't be shy. What else have I been reading? Let's see. Oh, this is great. All right, this is actually a good one. Now, for anyone who is, I'll just hover my, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, maybe you can't. Stephen King on Writing, a memoir of the craft. I read this book when I started writing a fiction novel, a science fiction. Well, it's kind of like based on my own life growing up, and I'm about halfway through. So I've written about 48 to 50,000 words, I think. But that particular book there by Stephen King is really great if you are thinking about writing a book, whether it's your own life or whether it's going to be a novel or anything like that. It's definitely one worth reading. And another one that's on the whole issue about writing is another one, this one by Stephen Pressfield, called The War of Art. And Stephen Pressfield is a very well-known author now, but there was a time where he was just a struggling wannabe author who had spent 10 to 15 years, I think, writing and never actually finished anything. So well worth reading as well. Michael is saying 89 degrees. Yeah, hot and 89 degrees Fahrenheit. What's that in centigrade? Let me just have a look. Convert 89. Ooh, that's 32 degrees. Yeah, that's pretty. 68% humidity. That's actually not too bad. Yeah. Oh, it's pretty dry here today. During the summertime in Sydney, it's not unusual to have 90% humidity, and 38 degrees, which is about 100 Fahrenheit. Not unusual. So, what's your interest, Michael? What caused you to drop into the channel today? Did this just randomly come up in your feed? Do you have a general interest in all things to do with consciousness, spirituality, etc.? Do you have a particular angle that you like to hear about? I'm curious. Joyful Hearts, same with you, actually. I'm curious as to what has you, because you've joined us pretty much every live stream, I think, since I started the channel. I'm interested in, what are you interested in? Is it near-death experiences? Is that what brought you to the channel? Was there any particular guest that resonated well with you? Is there anything in particular that you'd like to see on the channel in future? Which I guess is probably a good question to ask as well. Yeah, let me know. Let me know in the chats. I'd be interested in getting some feedback from you guys. So, what else? I've got some other things on my list here. All right. Don't have any other thing. Now, Mr. Jason Janas, are you going to be joining us in this studio? I'm starting to run out of things to talk about. Maybe I'll just talk about what. Maybe I'll tell you guys a bit about what I do. So obviously, I don't just run this channel. I would like to just be running this channel and interviewing guests as my main living, and I'm sure that will happen at some point. But for now, this is a part-time gig for me, and I help clients with their marketing, so with their digital marketing outside of this. Now, actually, Jason is just dropping into the studio, so I'm going to bring him in because that guy, he can talk the hind leg off a dog, as we say here in Australia. Where is he?
As he says.
All right. Hey, how's it going, man?
That's all right, brother. How are you?
Good. Nice and warm there in Waukesha.
Waukesha. It's 73. It was hot today. I'd say by 1 o'clock this afternoon, it was mid 80s. So it was quite warm.
Nice.
So,
all right.
Yeah,
it's like the middle of summer. Yeah, I was thinking, oh, maybe the warm weather's going to start coming here, but it's actually the middle of winter, technically. So,
well, when it's the middle of winter here in Wisconsin, it's 20 or 30 below. Okay, so cool. I will gladly take 60 degrees in the middle of winter any day, dude. I'll go swimming at 60 degrees. So I was laughing
Yeah.
using my poor little fingers. It come out when it's 30 below.
Yeah, I can imagine. You must have to shovel a lot of snow.
Last winter it was like every 3 or 4 days we got about 6 to 8 inches.
Mm.
So, but it doesn't start until technically, October, November. I consider it winter. November, December. We get about 6 months here.
Yeah.
Of just cold weather and stuff like that. So, yeah. I was just giving you time to talk and let you do your thing. It's like, how soon is he going to run out of stuff to say? And I'm like, I'll give you your time.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of got a bit of a format. It'll evolve over time. Go through what's been happening with the channel, who we've got coming up, what I've been reading. Starting to run out of things to talk about.
I
guess there is always
have
something.
Melissa on your show. Melissa Denyce is the
Yeah,
one.
really. Looking forward to having her come on.
She was one of my first interviews. She reached out because I was commenting, because this is when I was starting to do the research about what had happened to me. I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
So I was putting in things, my experience, and all of a sudden NDE popped up and Melissa came up in my feed. So I started listening to her, and I was like, wow, she's talking about, what she's saying is true, and back right after my NDE, I had jumped back into Christianity again. I hadn't left until after my talk with my father, not father, but the priest.
Yeah.
So then after my NDE, so you got to remember, all my emotions are at its height. I'm feeling all of this. It is so crystal clear. Even now it's so crystal clear. And I can still feel it, and I was like, it was a brutal time. I mean, people think, oh, I want an NDE, all of this. And it was the single hardest thing I ever had to live through was the aftermath of an NDE. I lost my job. They repossessed my car, eviction notices, because nobody would hire me. It's the height of the pandemic, I went through what you would call hell, and I'm trying to, I have now left Christianity because I know Christianity is nothing but a lie. It's not Jesus's true mission, why he came.
But you still would have had a community there too. That was a community that you had that you are now.
That now, right? I left again, and I felt horrifically bad, because I felt once again, because I still hadn't put 1 and 2, all that together to create the puzzle. So I felt like I was abandoning God again. Like, even though I'm having conversations, I'm crying to him every day, I still felt like I was abandoning him when I left Christianity. And I didn't realize how hard it was to deconstruct. You're taught through your entire childhood and in your 20s, that the Bible is God's written word. It's his breath, and it's not. And, so to take all of that, and then the pressure of society, jumping down on, well, what do you mean you're not? Why'd you leave Christianity? And then I tell them what happened. They're like,
he's losing it.
Right. That's it, and for the first, few times I was doing commenting, I got a lot of harsh criticism, like, you do need to read the Bible, dude. You're lost. Yeah, you clearly are lost. You need to sit down and talk to God. I was like, I just did talk to God, okay, a few months ago. And I'm telling you, what you're saying is wrong, but you're going to tell me what to go do when I was just with God. So, I was like, I remember sitting up and just jumping up and screaming at him, literally at my ceiling, saying, see, I told you this would happen. I told you nobody would believe. What did I tell you? What did I say? Okay. And I'm like, all right, calm down. You just yelled at God. You just really lit into him, and again, it was one of those reassuring voices in my head that came again and said, everything is fine.
Yeah.
You know, and I heard it as clear as day, like a month earlier, you know, when I said, you picked the wrong guy for this, man. I wasn't good, you know, wrong guy. How about the Pope, an archbishop, you know, a baby, something other than me? You picked the wrong guy, you know? And again, I'm yelling at him, and I'm like, and it was, you know, and all I heard was, you know, when I said you picked the wrong guy, and it was speaking telepath, you know, and it was like, why not? You are my son, you know. And it was in that moment that I heard his words and I felt the love, that I collapsed on my knees at the end of my bed, and I said, you know, and I raised up my arms and I said, all that I am, I'm you. And I said, I surrender completely to you. I am all yours. And it was at that moment that religion was gone. Everything was gone. Fear, it all left. It was just instantly gone. I mean, it's not to mention that I didn't have a hard physical life after that, like trying to find a job, trying to find a vehicle, having no money, selling my furniture so I can have food to eat.
Yeah.
You know, going through all of that, I didn't care anymore. I realized that none of this stuff that you see behind me or whatever is meaningful. It's materialism. And I have no need or want of it anymore, really. So it was an abrupt, you know, you're sitting there walking, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get sucker punched and you twirl around and you fall down on your butt and you get back up and you're like, what? You know, that was my experience. You know, I didn't have a wife or a significant other or my children around. It was just me, you know, and it was a struggle to find myself. I knew who I was and what I was, but then when you look in the mirror, you see something that you've seen for 50 years. It's dead. It's gone. Just the shell is there. So I wake up every morning from this point on, changed a little bit every day, because more of my true self has been coming through and more knowledge arrives. And I'm like, so it's weird because you wake up different every day, you know, and you just, if you don't ask questions, you're not going to get answers, right? So like you calling me up saying, hey, I would like to interview you. I want to hear your story. If you hadn't have done that, would we be here tonight? No. So you have to ask those questions. God is waiting for you to ask. And not just you, Rod, to anybody that watches this. Ask. It will come true. It will happen. But you have to remember, here in the physical world, things move slowly. Like I told you before, we're just now catching up to what's already taken place, right? Right. Yep. You've already picked your own death. That's why when I tell you, all your lives, previous, present, and future, even though the past and future don't really exist, that's why Jesus said, live right now. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. You can't change it. Don't worry about tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet. Right now is what matters, because that's where we can affect change. So the past and the future, they don't exist. They're non-existent. Can you go grab what you did 5 minutes ago? No, it's gone forever. They don't exist. The only thing that exists is right now. So all your past lives and your previous lives are already playing out. Why? Because they're already happening. Just like we're just catching up to what has already happened. You know, it's hard for you. I know it's weird for for you, because time doesn't exist and all of this stuff, you know. So getting back to my original point of view, it was really hard to try and get what I know now into focus. I'm still backpedaling, you know, from getting punched. And, I'm looking around and I feel like I'm an alien, literally an alien in an alien world, because I know everybody around me. That's not who you are. Okay. And how can I say that you and I are one when, or that we're all the same if you look at me like this guy's nuts, what is he talking about, this guy, but it's the truth. We are all one. And that's what Jesus said, to his apostles, Father, let them know that we are all one. And, it wasn't, Jesus came to the conclusion that this wasn't just significant to him. We all have the abilities he had. He just didn't have any learning to do anymore. He joined, instead of having an NDE, he just became truly under the realization that God and you are exactly the same. You are God. He had that knowledge and he didn't have any learning to do. He joined with his true self, and the rest is history. All the miracles that he did, we are capable of doing here right now. And that's why we're evolving. So,
so what happened with your interview with Mel? So what, she reached out to you, and I haven't watched that interview yet. I need to watch it.
Yeah, watch that. I mean, I was so nervous because I'm thinking always in the back of my head, nobody's going to believe me because of all the criticism. I'm like, nobody's going to listen. And I've heard all these people are flying around space and seeing all these things, and I have to keep remembering, Jason, you were not clinically dead at the time of your NDE. They were clinically dead. They're trying to be resuscitated, and stuff like that. So their NDEs were written out and directed by themselves. Just like I had found out that those of us that have NDEs, that's written in your contract. Okay. So when you come here and you're going to do these things, now how it got in there and why it's in there, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure, almost 100% sure, that during this transition that Earth is going to from 3D to 5D, and that's what we're doing as well, that Father, God, Source, needed people down here with experience, a lot of experience, to push humanity, push humankind into a higher realm of consciousness, which means we're evolving, which means we're going to look different. Maybe not by much. We might, really cut down on how much food we eat. Our, heads or chests or whatever might get a little bit bigger. But as we evolve in consciousness wise, we are going to evolve our bodies as well. So,
there was it was in, I'll just quickly throw this up. This book here, the raw material, the one that's in the middle, they one of the things they talked about was how I think it was in there, it's like about 5%. Once 5% of the population sort of makes this transition, and it's really just people just saying, oh, actually there's more to my existence than what I can see and touch and smell, then that'll it has this multiplier effect. So it's only going to take about 5%, and then there'll be a really big shift in, the way that we think about ourselves, the way we think about consciousness, and the way that humanity thinks about each other as well. So
that's part of the illusion, is to find ourselves, right? And that's part of coming here and telling ourselves we're going to forget who we are and why you came here. Okay. And the point of the game is to realize, like Jesus was saying, he just simply said, wake up, man, wake up. This is who you are. Okay. So what we're doing is we're, people like me that have had the NDE are telling you, such as yourselves and anybody here tonight watching this, is to wake up. You're having a dream. I'm dreaming. Who's here watching us live? They're dreaming. This is just a dream. There's no reality here. It's all fake. So in that fake reality that we've created for ourselves, we call Earth and life and stuff like this, is simply a game. The game is to eventually become Jesus, become Christ conscious. No more learning to do. I've learned it all. Become one. Realize that you are God. Okay, you are God. ¿Dónde está el teléfono?
I can't believe I left my phone on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well done. Well done. Is to realize.
That was Jesus calling.
Right. Right. He's saying, listen to this guy. Right? That was classic. That was great. No, he just simply said, wake up and realize that you are gods. You are gods.
Yeah.
You are all gods. And I know, that I'm a god. So, and I think I told you this maybe last time, is that, when we came here, we were one of three chosen, right? We stood before God.
Yeah, he did.
Right? Then I told you about that, right? Saying, and out of those three people, you came here. The other two, could go anywhere in the universe they want. They just couldn't come to Earth because we have the most experience in not only helping humanity, but Earth evolve. So, basically God said, only you come. Only you, only you. So he's handpicking those souls right now that can benefit this transition the most, and humanity the most. So somehow my NDE was created by me, or Father threw that in because I chose a hard life to get me back on track, to get me, rolling in the right direction. And I do believe that 100% because I've had 2 out-of-body experiences and two face-to-face, in person, in flesh, in the physical form, Archangel Michael. And, the things that are happening right now are, I just understand everything. I have forgiven those that have hurt me badly in my life. I've asked for forgiveness. For those that I have hurt, I know that I was asked to do that by this person. They just don't remember, but to them, it's hurtful. So, like I said, we're all role playing. So even though we don't remember it, it's still, forgive that person, even though they did a horrible thing, but why'd you do that horrible thing? Well, you asked me to do it, then we'd get, no, I did, because people only think with their physical minds, not that, the whole experience and all that took place was so someone could learn patience or forgiveness or understanding or something in that encounter. It was for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So everything here this is nothing more than school. It's just a big lesson on how to wake ourselves up and realize this is real. So how do you, when I interact with people, that's what's going on in my head, but I've got to play the human Jason to interact with people, because I get that a lot. Oh, the human, Jason's going to be human for a while tonight. I was just like, well, the things I say and do, you're like, how can you do that? How can, I don't understand. It's because, having that NDE gets you to the front of the line. You don't have to read the rest of the book. You got that whole book read within a trillionth of a second, and now you know everything, And it's like, I guess it's true, it is what it is. But for you guys, when I say this has already happened, we're just catching up to it. It just blows your mind, like but it's true. Time does not exist. There is no measure of time anywhere in the universe except we call it a 24-hour a day. What if we said it was only a 6-hour day? That's not a heavenly thing. This is a, in time, in person, physical thing. Outside of this reality in this realm, time does not exist.
Yeah. I certainly understand it conceptually, But I can also see how, like, for the experience here to have any sort of real value, then it's got to be completely convincing, which is, I guess, we've got to actually, and that otherwise, if it's not convincing, we wouldn't have anything at stake. We wouldn't take it seriously, this experience here on planet Earth. So I can see how there's kind of like knowing what you know and what you've experienced, but then there's still like there's this life to live and the reason why you came here, and the kind of experience that it is. I think that's worth. It's worth also attending to that to a degree as well. I think so. It's kind of like finding this balance. Now you've got this experience and this knowledge of another realm, another place, but then you still got to live the rest of your life too, right? And do
right. But now it's given me focus, because now I have devoted myself, and like I said, have given myself completely to Father. Because I just see him as a male figure when I needed him the most. He's like us. I'm not a male. Neither are you. You're male. You're neither male or female. You are energy, consciousness, and love. That's it. We're just slipped inside this meat suit, and then when we're done with it, we discard it and we go home. What I was going to say is I was never more alive than when I was home, when I left my body, and when I was home. That's the first thing I said. It became a thought, and it was loud and clear. I'm home. And it was more of a shock because I knew I shouldn't have been there. It wasn't my time because I knew everything. I'm like, I'm home, So it's a beautiful thing. So yes, I still have to live a human life. I still have to get up, go to work, but I know what I'm doing is pointless and meaningless because it's non-real. It's, and on top of that, I am going to be changing careers. Like I said, with my last meeting with Michael, Sacramento, it was like, would you be willing to relocate, and I'm like, where? And he's like, it's like, and he's, and I'm like, he's taking all this time. I'm like, you already know, dude. I was like, what are you waiting for? Come on, you already know where you're going to push me. So let's hear it. And it's like, he comes out and he says, Sacramento. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, oh my God, why California? Oh God, the second word. I was sure for that kind of money, a month. Yeah. I'd move to the moon if that's where you wanted me to go.
It's not cold enough for you?
Huh?
It's not cold enough for you in California?
I was so unimpressed in the 70s when I went as a kid with California and 8 lanes of traffic that doesn't move more than, a half an inch for 4 hours. No,
I guess LA traffic, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I've never been to Sacramento, but I was like, out of all the places, really, but if that's where I'm needed. But the thing is though, is when Michael spoke to me, he was talking about all the things that I greatly enjoy here. Okay. And I'll put it out. I'm a huge video gamer. I love to game on the PC. I build my own PCs and I'm a gamer. That's how I like to spend some of my free time and stuff like that. So, and he's like, one of the first things he said this last time, and he goes, just smiling, just like you are now, just smiling. He goes, you do love to game, don't you? And I go, I was like, how do you know this, dude? I have never seen you in my entire life. And
what do you play? Because my two, I've got 2 teenage sons. They're very mad gamers as well.
Oh yeah. I love it.
What's your favorite? What do you like to play?
I've been playing World of Tanks. It started out as a free game.
I've never heard of that one. Yeah.
World of Tanks and World of Warships.
Okay.
So, like cruisers, battleships. And it's a 15-on-15, so you got to skate around islands or in through the islands and torpedo people and shoot your guns, and yeah, it's just a naval clash, the tank clash. Call of Duty.
Yeah, I've seen like kids play Call of Duty.
Yeah. So I'm a gamer. So, but the first thing Michael said, after he once again gave a fake name, he's like, you really love the game, and I'm like, how do you know that? I mean, I was just, and then that frustration builds because I know what I'm feeling and I know the energy that I'm giving and that I'm receiving. Something's off. That's all I could place it as. You know, the face looked the same, exact same haircut and beard, just different colors this time. And I'm like, I could not, for the love of you, God, I could not put two and two together to say, Michael, what are you doing here? It wasn't until I left, I go, oh my God, it was Michael, you know? And it's such an energy drain because for anyone, an angel, let alone an archangel, to materialize in the flesh, in this time, takes a lot of energy, to come from such a high vibration, the upper levels of heaven, all the way down into this physical dump. It takes a lot of energy, you know. So I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the love we're giving because we're both smiling at each other. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, how does he know this? Who is this guy? If, you know, at the time, the ex-girlfriend, it freaked her out so bad, she ran and hid. So there's no time, only here. Time does not exist. I'm sure if you've listened to any other NDEs or whatever, they'll tell you time does not exist. It instantly stopped. All my pain, I was young, I knew where I was, knew who I was, and it all happened within a trillionth of a second.
Yeah, it's a hard one to explain that. It's because I've had an out of body experience, and I can't really say how long it was for. I just know that in reality it was only really 5-10 minutes perhaps, but you can't really. It could have been quite a long time, or it could have been quite a short. It's like it's a funny thing to say that in your head. It's like, well, how could you not know how long it's for? But you just, if it ever happens, you just know you're like, there's just no passage of time in the way that your brain normally can understand it. That's what it is. It's
right.
It's just not there. And so
it just does not exist.
And so this hardware is trying to get what's going on, and it's getting inputs that aren't normally inputs that it receives. So I was like, okay.
Right. You know, my point is like, if you're not getting it, your mind can't handle it. Okay. So if you're just sitting there and you have one of these, your mind is never going to be able to handle that, you know? So, and if my NDE didn't take place and I was listening to somebody talk like that, I would have said, you're so full of, you know, I would have been one of those that, you know, you need to read this book, try reading this book. It'll tell you what it needs, you know? And now I'm out here advocating against it to say, don't read it, you know, have fun, but live right now, because that's the only thing that matters. That's where we are. Live it right now. Right now. Don't worry about 5 minutes from now. Hasn't happened. Who knows? Why are you going to try and impress something that doesn't exist? You're kind of like putting the carrot, you know, putting the stick and the carrot in front of a zombie, and you just can't get it. But, you know, so you keep, you know, it keeps you in the dream, right? It keeps you in the dream. So, you know, I'm up and out of it, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, some of this stuff is just so, and I'm sitting here talking about, you know, love one another, you know, and I'm like, you know, it's hard to tell people the violence that you see on TV and in communities and stuff like that is like, I'm always asked this question, you know, why doesn't God come in here and stop it? And I tell them, because we create that violence before we come down here. It's part of what we want to experience. Somebody wants to experience fighting in combat. Well, can't have that happen unless you're in a war. So we have wars, you know. And what do we learn from all of these? It wasn't, because you still go home and say, okay, you know what, you'll explain your experience to your best friend who wanted that kind of war. And, you know, hey, what happened to me really wasn't that fun, man. No, I would tell you not to experience them, you know. So what are we doing? we're living
Or we're
vicariously.
exercising our free will as well. I
We're
mean,
right.
yeah,
And then when we get back home, we have a little confab and say, well, that sucked. Okay. No, I won't do that for anybody again. So what are we doing? We're learning, right? So this is the playground. We come have fun, but when we get here, it's not that much fun because, you draw it up on paper, it looks great, right? Because we're still at home, so all we know is love. But then getting down and getting shot and have your arm blown off, and then losing, being homeless for 10 years, not so much fun, man. We really don't need to do that. So then we have less and less. We're learning, we're evolving, So and we are moving forward rather quickly. So
yeah. I watched. There's the actor Jim Caviezel in the Passion of the Christ. I've never actually watched that film before. I only just watched the other day because you've probably heard of the Freedom Operation Freedom. Is a movie that's really eye-opening. One you should watch because we don't actually have it in our cinemas here, but they do in the States. Anyway, Jim Caviezel played Jesus in the Passion of the Christ. Man, that's a harrowing tale, that one. But it was, I just remember there was something that he always says is they know not, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Right. So what is he doing? He's watching them brutally beat him damn near to death, right? And he knows this is going to take place because it's something that when Father asked him to do this, of course he said, I will do anything for you. He knows his life plan, so he knows what's coming. This isn't a surprise for him. Okay, he knows what's coming.
Yeah,
So,
he had accepted his fate. It was just playing out exactly the way it was. That was my impression. With
right.
I have
So forgive
knowledge of the
them,
Bible.
Father. So what is he? What is he? He loved everyone equally, even those nailing him to the cross. He knew that they were
and laughing about it. Yeah,
and laughing about it. He loved them. And what did he do? Forgive them, Father. Forgiveness. Ultimate forgiveness and love. That's something we're so far short of right now in our species, in our race, that while he's being nailed to the cross, he's begging for forgiveness for them. Come on, man. That's so far above us. Makes me feel so insignificant. And I'm a God, as well as Jesus, as well as you. But that's love, is my point. Didn't matter. That was love.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when he said, now I can't think. You put me on the spot. Father, why have you forsaken me? Because in that moment, he was going to die like a regular man. His Christ consciousness, in a way, left, but, he no longer had the umbilical cord back home. He felt it severed. You're going to die like a regular man. You're going to know what a regular man feels like because you had all these special abilities, knows what everybody's going to say or do, loved us unconditionally no matter what we did, right? And then we brutally murder him because they were scared of him, basically. So they crucified him.
Yeah.
And, get rid of the Christianity view from it, right? What happened to Jesus happens to thousands of people here every day. They get brutally murdered, whether it be shot in the back of the head, tied up, and executed, or, starved to death in a basement somewhere. It was just the way the Romans like to kill people. If it was a century earlier, could have been off with his head. It was just the execution style of that century back then, So
yeah, and it's interesting how they focus in on the faces of the people that were in the crowd, and they were initially very I guess, rabid in a way, but you can see that they could start to sort of, faced with the brutality, they saw their own brutality and how awful it was, and then started to kind of like change and go, okay, that's enough, stop. And you could see how it was something that he had to allow to happen so that people could see that. It's phenomenal. Like I was not brought up religious at all, but it was really struck me, that film, and I'm glad that I watched it. But gee, it's really brutal brutal stuff.
It's,
Yeah.
When you look at what his purpose was, there's always a bigger picture, and that's what I want people to understand, is that when you came here, you had a big picture, big plan to help the universe, help this planet. It is so far, we think so minute, but in reality, it's to help this planet, help us evolve and become much more intelligent, and become better at everything.
Yep.
We're on that cusp. We're very close, and we're vital to that. And I want people to know how important you are, and that you were handpicked by God to be here during your time, because you were the absolute best shot at getting it done. Period. That's amazing. Trillions of souls want to come, and no. So that means, after we transition, right, we're eager to come back to make it happen, right? So say I live for another 40 years, God, please don't, we got to fix that. Please, no. Say another 40 years, but then, no time, you're taking a rest. Okay, I'm ready to go back. 200 years of Earth time could have passed, and, all right, you're watching your parents already, what you want to do, thinking about what you want to do, watching your parents, forming your plan, forming your contract on what you want to do, on what you still need to or would like to work on, whether it's patience, showing more love, empathy, whatever it is that you need, that you feel you need, you create your plan. And then off to Never Never Land you go, when it's time. So, but right now only Father is picking, so,
All right, brother, I'm going to wrap it up. Going to go and have some late breakfast.
Oh, that's right. It's morning by you.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. It's actually a little bit early. I might just go for a walk and then come back. I've got another meeting. Well, thank you to Joyful Heart for joining us. I know that I think you might have dropped out, but if you watch this again, thanks for joining us. Michael Marshall, thank you also. And to you, brother.
All right, my man.
Thanks for dropping by.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
All right. Yeah, we've got some guests coming up the next couple of weeks. So
yeah, I'll be. When's Melissa coming on?
Let me check. Melissa is 16th, but that's an interview, so she won't be on a live stream. She may come back for a live stream, but hopefully she will. But that'd actually be fun, because you could come on as well.
That would be awesome. Melissa is. I would say she literally saved my life. Wow. And brought me, or listening to her videos made me feel I could, actually do this, so it was, she literally saved my life. Truly, she's a beautiful person in and out.
That's epic. Hey, make sure she knows that, right?
Absolutely. So I would love, if you guys are going to have a little confab, I would love to jump in. So
yeah. Well, most people do. Is probably, I think there's only one or two of my guests that haven't actually come back for the live streams. So yeah, most are pretty keen to do it. Yeah, because I think not many people do them. Like, as far as in this sort of this niche, if you like, I know Jeff Murray does these, but he doesn't have any of the guests come back. He has people sort of randoms, drop in, which is great. That's what I'd like to have as well. But I think I've kind of ended up in this funny sort of space where the guests do come back, and so it's cool.
That's all right, though. Like I said, I gladly hand my spot over to anybody that that wants to come in and kick me out. So, but until then, brother, you stay blessed. I love you.
All right, man. Love you too.
See you next week.
All right. See you, mate. Bye.
Yep.